All right, Tony.
Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. Nobody's safe. Soon as we step out the cage, we raising all of the stakes. Make no mistake, either you stay in your place or we putting you on a plate. Look at our face, we put the fear in the dirt. We had to struggle for change, pick up the pace. We put in infinite work, that's why we stay getting paid. Y'all running late, we moving on to the next. You still been stuck in the phase.
Welcome to episode 3 of Meeting of the GoldMinds. Last week we discussed criticism versus hate. And one thing we hate are Jazz fans. We're not talking about the music. No. We hate Utah Jazz fans. Now we don't hate them the most. We reserve that hate for the Boston Celtics. Because it's always fuck Boston. But the Utah Jazz are a special breed of nothing. What have you ever accomplished besides having your best point guard wear net huggers? Donovan Mitchell got tired of your shit. You must really suck when not even Rudy Gobert want to be around you anymore. Caw. The best thing to happen in Utah are the orgies that takes place every year during Sundance Film Festival. But that's enough about you know rhythm having fucks. We got a lot to talk about today. Magic Johnson is now a commander. Christian Wood is still undecided. And we are getting our Greek on talking about alphas and betas. Tony is adding some pepper to his mojito as he pisses off Knicks fans. KB is at the casino betting on the purple and gold. King got plenty of answers. The too bad he doesn't know the questions. Zen is plotting how to get rid of Miranda from And Just Like That. And Alan is learning how to say go fuck yourself in German.
But as it stands, the way you behave, I feel I can speak for the entire office. When I tell you, go fuck yourself.
Normalerweise würde ich sagen, geh und fick dich selbst.
Tony, you did it. You really fucked up, Tony. You really fucked up. People, folks, hell has frozen over.
Oh boy.
Tony, I don't know if he put a roofie in my drink. I don't know. Tony took advantage of me, and I kind of liked it. Tony got me 6 a.m. West Coast time to watch an F1 race. And I cannot fucking believe I'm going to say this. I actually enjoyed it. What the fuck? You know, first of all, I want to give a special fuck you to NASCAR, because it's like the white trash of just like the racing industry, of the racing sport, because I always thought NASCAR and F1 was the same thing. So I'm like, why the fuck would I want to watch that? But then when I said, oh, wait, there's only 70 laps. He was like, yeah, not 500. Like, oh shit. So Tony, there's people that have accomplished some great things in my life, but you getting me into F1, and I guess what? There's another race in 7 days, and I'm looking forward to it. Can't fucking believe it. So, Tony, just want to give you your flowers, and can't believe it. And you didn't even have to paint your toes.
Thank God, because that was never going to happen. So that was really never going to happen.
Well, good for you. But you know what, folks? I want to introduce everyone here. This is episode 3 of the Meeting of the GoldMinds podcast. and we are your Purple and Gold Minds. You heard his voice already. He is at Bald Mojito on Twitter. Is my Purple and Gold Mind brother. Look, he loves ass, he loves titties, but the first thing he will always ask a woman is if he could play with her Texas instrument. That's how much he loves numbers. It is Tony Vega. What's up, brother?
T T T. Oh shit! What's the TI-81? Was it or 80? Oh my god!
What was it?
I forgot my calculator knowledge now. Yeah, nah, man. Appreciate being here. I wasn't here for the second one, daddy duties, and it's this thing, man. Like you have availability for a moment, and then kids say no. So, but yeah, all good, man. Actually, I'm actually pretty surprised that uh I'm actually pretty surprised that we had that F1 experience, which I'm not gonna lie, I had negative expectations, and it was pretty positive. So, yeah. And if anybody here watching this, hearing this on all the platforms available, hey, we are now doing some playback on them. So, join up.
Absolutely. I can't believe it is 7:24 West Coast time, and I have said on Sunday evening as we record this, and I have said F1 more times today than I have said F you to someone. Can't believe it. It has never happened. Speaking of daddy duties, he wasn't here last week, but we got through. But I'm glad he's here this week. It is my Jamaican brethren, brother, Purple and Gold Mines brother. He is at Chasing Number with the A, not an ER, with the A, folks, not an ER. Big difference. He is at Chasing Number 18 on Twitter, soon to be X. It is the Context King. What's up, brethren? I see you on daddy duties.
Yeah, he was just blowing up at his mama, so I had to come in and save the day. Yeah, so with our Mamba month coming up, I know Evans already got Kobe as his GOAT. Just looking at some of Kobe's moments, he ready to remove Michael Jordan from that #1 spot. I don't know if it's just the nostalgia of watching it and seeing the moments in him having 4 straight 50-point games, or him averaging 40 for a month, or just the fact that he's a 5-time NBA champion, 2-time Finals MVP, 19-time. I mean, I could go on and on. So, yeah, I would say by the end of August, I'm going to make a decision if I'm going to remove Michael Jordan and replace him with Kobe Bryant.
Okay, well, if you don't know what he's talking about, folks, Purple and Gold Mines, we are recording this on the last no, actually second to last Monday of you're hearing this on the second to last Monday of July. But for the month of August, August 1st through the 31st, every single day, we are doing a month-long tribute to the one and only Kobe Bean Bryant. It is called the Month of Mamba. It will be across all of our social media platforms, Twitter, Threads, Instagram. We'll be having nightly watch parties throughout the entire month on Playback. That is playback.tv/PGM Fan Cave. August 1st, we're playing, since it's 8-1, we're playing the 81-point game. Um, then we have 62 points in 3 quarters. We have 65 against Portland. We have the 2 gold medal games. We have his last high school games. We just found his first 50-point game where he dropped 51 in December of 2000 against the Warriors. It was a classic game because both him and Antoine Jameson scored 51 that night. So yeah, it's called the Month of Mamba. It's gonna be dope. We're actually working on a special project called A Love Letter to Kobe. Look, folks, it is dope. Please keep in tune. Keep a lookout for that information coming soon. But last but not least, we got a special guest, but we really consider him one of our brothers. Speaking of a zaddy, because he is a zaddy, it is Evan Moore of Late Night Lake Show. One of, like I said, just one of the most decent, foul mouthed people you'll ever meet. Evan Moore, what's up, brother? Welcome to Meeting of the GoldMinds officially, because you were here for a preseason episode, but you're officially on the podcast, man. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it, man. This is a lot of fun.
Appreciate it. So, fellas, it's been an interesting week. Anyone got anything interesting on your Purple and GoldMind? Well, I'll tell you, I have something interesting. So this was a fucked up week for me. So look, anyone that knows me, Sons of Anarchy is my favorite show ever. Look, I'm not saying it's the best show. It's my favorite show. I absolutely love it. I can rewatch it. I'm probably sometime since there's a writer strike and the actors are striking as well. No shows are going to be coming out soon for the fall season. So I'm probably going to do a rewatch of all of Sons of Anarchy. So they had the spinoff Mayans MC. The 5th season is the final season. The last episode was this past Wednesday. So what? I'm 4 days removed from that bullshit. Worst series finale, worst ending to a show, movie, podcast, cartoon, video game that I have ever seen. Just like the amount of plot holes that it had. It was like unbelievable. Worst shit that I've ever seen. And look, shout out to the actors. They performed and they're on the front lines. Shout out to the writers. They're on the front lines. But this ending was fucking horrible. So fellas, I want to ask you, what's like the worst ending to a TV show or movie that you have ever seen that you're just like, yo, what the fuck? Evan, what about you?
I'll go first. Yeah, like worst one for me was Signs. That ending is the most insulting as a viewer, or just if you like writing, if you like stories at all. That ending is like the worst, like slap in the face you can possibly get. Like he does this amazing job of building tension for 2 hours to turn it into this. Oh, fuck it. All you needed to do was swing away with your goddamn baseball bat to kill this fucking alien. Like, fuck you, M. Night Shyamalan. Wow. Fuck you forever. I hate that fucking movie.
Wow. Look, I've never seen it. The whole once I saw it was like, oh, we're talking about what, crop circles? I was like, I'm good.
Wait a minute, you've never seen it?
I've never seen it.
So good, like all this great tension building, and then it's just like, like fuck you.
Well, I get that ending, but you can't discredit the fact that it was a very good movie in creating tension. Like it was
up until the goddamn ending.
Yeah, you still stop the movie. It's great up to that point.
So Tony, what ending to a TV show or movie just pissed the fuck off?
Oh, so I got two because I just finished a series on Prime, and I was like, this is god awful. The movie one is The Mist. So The Mist was very like all that, like all the process in terms of like, okay, like we're surviving, and then they're in the car and it's like, yeah, we're just gonna die and there's only 3 bullets. So let me kill everybody, and then he's the guy that survives, and it's like, what? Oh, you just killed your kid. Like, what are you doing? Like, literally, if he waited 5 minutes more, they would have all been saved. Like, it's, I don't know. That was a very crappy ending. Like, I was like, what's the point? Like, I there is a point. I just didn't appreciate it. And the TV show is actually, I don't know if you heard of it, The Citadel
Yeah, yeah.
on Prime. Uh, Jesus Christ, that's probably the worst. So it's spies and all that, but that ending, like, so wait, I don't know. I won't spoil it, but it's just there's so many. It's like this movie. It's like they try to match up a telenovela and a freaking spy movie together, because every single time there's somebody backstabbing somebody else, and then somebody else backstabs somebody else, and it's like, how can you do that to me? And how can you do that to me? And it's like, oh my god! And I mean, oh, how do you do that to me again? Oh, and you do not forget this time again. It's like, oh my god, Jesus! How many backstabbing moments can you have in the series? And it's only 6 episodes. Like, it's insane. Like, they were averaging, I think, 3 backstabs per episode. Like, it's kind of nasty, but yeah, that's me.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I was fucking pissed. Like, the ending was just so bad. And then, the fucked up thing is, throughout the season, throughout this fifth season, it's like they kept like opening up new storylines, right? New relationships. And it was like, okay, at what point, like, it's 10 episode season, and it's like up until like episode 6, they're starting new storylines. And it's like, okay, when are they gonna start closing some things up? And they just kept opening and opening and opening. And then it's like they like the main antagonist for the pretty much an antagonist, because they were fighting against the Sons of Anarchy, and this war has been brewing for 3+ seasons between the two clubs, and it was just like it ended in a small bar fight. Like, really, like, what the fuck? Anyway, do better, folks. But look, obviously we're in off-season mode. Not much happening in the across the league, but Lakers 14th slot is still open. Who gives a fuck? Like, I don't like, it's been 3 weeks. It's been 3 weeks. I don't genuinely give a fuck at this point. We signed someone, if it's Christian Wood, if it's Biombo, I don't give a fuck. Does it do any of you guys at this point, are we still like, what are we waiting on?
I think we're waiting on Christian Wood, and I think I think we'll hear about it like that first week of August, like whether or not he's going to sign with us or not. But like he's trying to milk this for anything he can get, but it seems like nobody's going to offer him anything other than the minimum. So that's what the wait is. It feels like to me, and it feels like we are waiting for him. And then if we don't get him, we'll pivot. So that's what I see. And also, like, I also got a little bit of skin in the game here too, because I got a bet with Tony, because if we get Christian Wood, he's got to put up a Dennis Schroeder profile pic. But if we don't, I've got to put up a Dennis Schroeder profile pic for 3 days.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that German national.
Wow. What's the German word for shit? I think it's Scheiße. But look, hey, Evan, you just said something. You said milk. Speaking of milk, now I'm about to bring up someone that he appreciate milk because it's an ingredient in milkshakes. He appreciate milk because it's an ingredient in cheeseburgers, which there's a video of this guy picking up 4 cheeseburgers in a club. And we're talking about James Harden. I guess he's starting to put on the fat suit. Now, like I said, we're recording this Sunday evening. So yesterday, Joel Embiid, his current teammate with the 76ers, don't know for how much longer, got married. And a lot of teammates were there. James Harden was nowhere to be found. except in a video at a club in Houston. And in the video, he's picking up 4 cheeseburgers. And the thing is, I know those cheeseburgers are for him because look, I want to ask you, Tony, if if you in a group of friends and if you James Harden in a group of you guys goes to a club, yeah, there goes the video. Now, if you
Yes.
guys go to a club with James Harden,
One,
is
two, three, four.
let me ask you, Tony, if you and James Harden and 2 of your buddies go to a club, right? Is James Harden going to be the one fetching the food for you guys?
I mean,
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
not really. No.
Yeah, he's not going to be the one getting the food. So those that tell me those burgers are for him. And yeah, I'm actually going to Texas this upcoming week. I am looking forward to trying out those Trill burgers. So I don't blame him. I don't blame him at all. But it's like, come on, man, 4 like, and he grabbed them individually. So at what
Yeah.
point was when he
Yeah,
grabbed that
yeah, and he kind of
second one?
stops at 3, and like
Yeah,
thinking about the 4th one, and like, I don't. Yeah, I'm taking the 4th one. Yeah,
one for the road, one for the road. So it's just like, yeah, but we found that funny. What else is some other NBA news? Today, Sunday, as we're recording this on the 23rd, the NBA approved um Jordan selling his majority ownership stake in the Hornets. Um, I'm a Jordan guy. King is a Jordan guy, at least for the time being. Um, there's a lot of folks that says his ownership tenure, which we know it sucked. No success, no conference finals. Did they even win a playoff series in his tenure? But
No.
I don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't
I
think they
don't
won
think
a
so.
playoff.
I don't believe they did.
So, do you guys think it affects his legacy? Like on the court legacy
No,
as a player?
no.
Yeah.
I personally don't. Like, yeah, I don't buy into that kind of garbage. Like, because, Magic has, come in and, kind of muck things up in the front office. And, like, nobody's talked about that affecting his legacy. Like, yeah, and like, to me, those things should be separate anyway, because they're separate ventures. And, just because you're a great basketball player doesn't mean you're a great executive, and vice versa. Like, there's, so there shouldn't be a comparison. And, it's also, there's so many factors that go into all of that I think you can't just place the blame completely on him also. It's a difficult job to own a sports team.
Yeah. And look,
Yeah.
of course, one of his all-time worst draft picks, Adam Morrison. What was it? That was what, 07? Adam Morrison, 06, 07. So, he had some blunders, but it doesn't take away, like, it has nothing to do with him as a player. Like, it doesn't. Like, but speaking of another owner, or person became owner, um, Magic Johnson, the greatest point guard ever, Mr. Showtime. He just added another title, and that is Mr. Commander. NFL just approved his ownership. The sale of the Washington Commanders. We know a lot of the shit that was going on with Dan Schneider. The funny thing about the NFL, they before they approved the ownership, before they approved the sale, they also fined him 65 million because they did a investigation, and he was like withholding. He was withholding funds from the other teams, like when the income that they all share, some sexual harassment stuff. So it's like, yeah, we're kicking your ass out, but we're gonna take, we're gonna keep 65 million. But Magic, he he owns, he's part of the ownership group of the Dodgers, part of the ownership group of the Commanders. But we know where his heart lies. His heart still is in LA. His heart is still with the Lakers. Um, you guys think Magic? You guys think Magic should own the Lakers? You think he will be a good owner of the Lakers?
Um, Evan,
I mean,
I'll
like
let you.
sentimentally, oh, sentimentally, um, like there's part of me that would like it, but his track record as an executive has not been great. So yeah, I would be hesitant, but I also do want, more athletes, former athletes, and especially more former Black athletes to be owners because, representation matters. It absolutely matters. And so like I said, I'd like him to be, but at the same time, I'd like him to be able to let, people who understand basketball be in charge, not to say that, that's not the best way to put it. People who understand how to work the front office better be in charge, because he understands basketball, but there were a lot of front office fumbles when he was, had his fingers in a lot of stuff. And
He did get LeBron, and he did that the
well,
framework of
I think
the
it's
AD
arguable.
deal.
I think LeBron was going to come here regardless. So I think that's arguable.
He could have gone to the Clippers.
But go on about the AD deal.
LeBron could have gone to the Clippers.
No.
No.
No, well,
no. I don't believe that for a second.
No. This is what I'm saying. Now we know that Magic put together the framework of the AD deal when it was going to be like a trade deadline deal. And then it was the Pelicans owners that said, no. You guys are trying to fuck us over. AD just demanded a trade. We've benched him, and now you guys are just trying to get what you want right now. And pretty much was like, hey, you're gonna have to wait. And then about time the AD deal went down, that's when Magic was like, I'm out. But the deal still happened that he put together. LeBron, Magic has been very open and saying, hey, when we sat down with LeBron, said, hey, this is the game plan. We got the young guys right now. Year one, you're here. Year two, we're going to get you AD. So it was part of he had a plan that ended up coming into fruition. He did say, hey, according to interviews that he's done, hey, he told LeBron, hey, year two we'll win a championship, something that they've done. I think with Magic, if we look at his track record as a businessman, he's done well. Look at the Dodgers. Not too long after he hasn't owned them.
Can we put some context to it though? Because I feel like
context.
I feel you're gassing the shit out of him. Like you're gassing the
go ahead
crazy shit out of him. So the Dodgers, he only invested 2%.
Okay,
2%. And that was after he sold his shares. So I'm looking here at the document. Basically, he bought 4.5% of the Lakers in 1994 for reported $10 million. Then he sold the stakes in 2010, and then afterwards he invested $50 million, which amounts in 2012, which amounts to 2.3%. And right now for the
now, when you say that, you say into the Dodgers or to the Lakers?
So I'm saying that no. So he basically sold his shares, his 4.5, and then which is amounting. What is it here? It's amounting to a reported. I mean, he bought it for $10 million, so sold it in 2010 when it was reported nearly $6 billion. So I imagine he probably took a good chunk of money out of it. So it's basically tripled the price, 4 times the price of his investment, maybe. So again, it's a great business move. He recoups his cash. He then reinvested into the Dodgers. The Dodgers then balloons up to a $50 million. What's his net worth right now? So it's supposedly The evaluation now ranks, Jesus Christ, at 4.8 billion. That's the second most valuable MLB franchise. So he does invest. He's invested into winning franchises. I get that. I understand that. But Magic Johnson has only been 2 years as the Lakers VP or president of basketball operations or whatever you want to say. But to say that he is the architect, that he's the like, I think he had a hand on it, but I don't think that it was like entirely on him. Like you're painting the picture to be like it's completely like this is my baby, I created it, and then I left my baby to Rob so he can nurture it. Like that's not. I don't think that's right. Like that, it just doesn't make sense. Because then why leave? You know.
Well, lots of like we know the bullshit, or we know according to sources of the bullshit between him and Rob, and it's also a family dynamic. Magic as an owner of the Lakers, I think one, there's a sentimental part that Evan was talking about, but then it's like he knows the game. He's the greatest point guard ever. Like, can we ever say that okay, someone knows the game of basketball more than Magic?
So why did he trade Zubac for Mike Muscala and
all those moves up until all those moves up to
that's his move. He specifically went on air and said, "This is the reason we wanted to do this," because he was pushed to it, and he went on air and basically said, "We wanted it because of this reasons." Basically, he went on air and basically shit it on Zubac, and look what happened. So
okay, you got me there.
Yeah, just saying, like he's not. Like, again, you're painting a picture that seems unreal. Like I get it. It's more sentimental, but not in the realm of reality. Like the evidence most shows that he doesn't handle the pressure. He really doesn't. Like if he really wanted to handle the pressure, he would have never done the first take shenanigans. He would have never done all of that crap. Like why bother? Like he basically is the most. He's probably more egotistical than even Genie to a certain extent. Just saying.
Well, sorry, Magic. Tony only refers to you as Irvin.
We love Magic, but like he's a great businessman and philanthropist, but he's a subpar, NBA executive. And I love Magic to death, and like. I would love for him to be owner, but I just don't want him, in there with like day-to-day operations. That's my take.
All right. Okay. Well, hey, Magic, I'm rooting for you. You'll do a way better job with the Commanders or whatever the fuck the team name is now than Dan Schneider. So
Red Wolves.
Yeah, Red Wolves. So hopefully you'll be able to turn that franchise around, because I would say, hey, if you can just piss off Cowboy fans, you're good in my book. But yeah, after we get back from this commercial break, we got personality traits of the NBA. This is going to be a good one. See you on the flip side.
Have a nice day.
Hello? This commercial is sponsored by Zen's Infused Treat. We ship to all 50 states. The person on this commercial are genuine and not paid by Born Rebel or any of his affiliates. They are not pressured to share their experience or be part of this commercial. For any question, please contact Born Rebel on Twitter. PGM is not responsible for any negative comments, monologue, tweets, or mentions from Zen Infused Treats Incorporated.
Hello, everyone. Evan Moore, writer for the Late Night Lake Show here. I'm not only an old head basketball fan, I'm also an old head stoner. I've been in love with Mary Jane for over 3 decades, and a medical card holder for about the past 6 years. I not only know weed, I live weed. So when I tell you Zen's treats are absolute fire, I know what I'm talking about. Most dispensary edibles are designed to help people sleep, not get people high. Zen's edibles are no joke. They even get a hardcore stoner like me high. I have PTSD and IBS, which makes me an everyday user. Now, as an everyday user, the psychedelic effect of weed is very muted. It's practically impossible for me to get too high. I often joke with friends that I'm permanently one toke under the line. Oh, sweet Jesus. Now, it's a problem sometimes, though, because I love watching movies when I'm high. That IMAX countdown intro is the shit when you're nicely toasted. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Now, Zen's edibles are perfect for an old-ass stoner like me. So, all these years of smoking didn't go to waste, because now I'm going to help some of you rookies understand how to dose. Dosing is different than smoking because body chemistry can change the effects. Smoking on an empty stomach will give you roughly the same results as smoking on a full stomach. Eating an edible on an empty stomach, on the other hand, is not advisable, unless you aren't going anywhere for the next 6 hours. So unless you're an old pro like me, make sure you eat something else first. Secondly, some things you consume can heighten the effect. Fatty foods help you absorb more THC into your bloodstream, and papaya also contains an enzyme that helps heighten the effects. So just be aware of what you've already eaten before you take them. If you're concerned about getting too high, and if you do end up feeling uncomfortably high, all you have to do is lay down and put on some music. You'll be fine. Don't clog up the emergency room with your paranoias. The medical community is already dealing with enough bullshit as it is. Lastly, start small and be patient. Cut the edible in half, quarters, or even into 8 equal pieces to start with. I know it's hard. These edibles are really tasty. Now, the effects usually take an hour to take the full effect, so that's where the patience comes in. Shout out to Zen for making some good shit. His edibles are now my go-to for movies. Eat them with lots of brisket and papaya if you're like me. Weedus Day. The weed in my blood recognizes the weed in yours.
The weed in my blood recognize the weed in yours. Hey, shout out to Evan for that lovely commercial. And Evan, I know you got some stuff in the cannon, and I cannot wait for you to get that out there, because man, it's gonna be some funny ass shit. Because who doesn't love weed? Who doesn't love sports? Why not combine the two? But and real quick, folks, if that ad, one of the many things we do with Purple and GoldMinds, we also do our own sports marketing. So if you need an ad, we produce and we distribute. So just like weed. And no, that's not funny. But anyway, we make our own ads in-house. So please, you need any type of promo, hit up Purple and GoldMinds. But yeah, we got an interesting topic, guys. Earlier this week I was thinking about, man, interesting topic would be alpha versus beta. And I started to do my research. Then I realized, because, classic personalities, who's the alpha, who's the beta, something we always speak about in sports. And then I did my research and I realized that there's 6 personality traits. There's alpha, there's beta, there's gamma, there's omega, there's delta, and there's sigma. So how does that translate to the NBA? I wanted to explore that with you guys. Once again, we got my brother, PGM brother, Tony Vega, holding it down, one of the gold mines, and we have very special guest, Evan Moore of Late Night LakeShow with us. So what I wanted to do, guys, I wanted to just break down these personalities really fast, and then we'll get into it, because, man, it's a lot there. So first is alpha. Alphas, dominating and charismatic. They're the born leader, understands his or her priorities and always utilize their time. Beta, modest and easygoing. One would say the ideal spouse. Works a lot but overshadowed by their peers. Gamma, introverted and super sensitive. The yes person at the office. Has big plans but lacks determination and focus. Omega, skillful and self sufficient. The odd one in the wolf pack. Laid back, not chasing success or money. There's Delta, modest and hardworking, wants attention but can't get it, works hard but unable to draw attention. I would say Sigma. The last one is Sigma, super smart and extremely attractive. The manipulative mastermind. They are ambitious and their own boss. And that's a lot there. We have it on the screen. Those who are watching us on YouTube, it's on the screen. But guys, I want to get into this. So in terms of NBA, right? I'm start off with you, Evan. What would make a player an alpha, beta, omega, any one of these traits? What would make them fit into one of these traits?
Well, like the alpha, to me, it's the one who, clearly takes charge, is like, usually a leader and usually a vocal leader, especially in basketball. You need to be a vocal leader. You need to talk on the floor. And so, like, yeah, the alpha is the one, who usually takes charge and is kind of directing traffic and trying to be the floor general, so to speak. And that to me is the alpha. And like the beta would be, like the good complement. So like, like a good example of a good alpha beta that worked together for me was, Magic and Worthy. Like Worthy was a perfect beta that, like, was happy to do his job, and be on the side, be the Robin kind of, and then, Gamma, gosh, it's hard to read that with my glasses here. I'm trying to remember.
The gamma is introverted and super sensitive. The yes person at the
Gotcha.
office.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of the introverted ones. So like, yeah, the contributor that, that just also just shows up and do their job. Like, like I think like Austin Reeves kind of like might be a good example of a gamma, kind of just, the good contributor there.
Interesting.
And then, we've got, yeah, like, and so like, you can see like when you think about all of these things, it's easy to kind of like think about players that kind of fit into those molds, I think, and yeah, I think that, what you were talking about with like, whether alphas can work or not together, like, that's that's, it can be done. Like we've seen it with like Kobe and Shaq, and Magic and Kareem, but it's also, and even LeBron and D Wade, arguably. So like, it's possible, but it's also like kind of short lived and potentially volatile.
Well, we're definitely going to get there because we're going to definitely explore some of the personality traits of like the dynasties throughout the history of the league. But let me ask you this, Tony. What are some of the characteristics of like an alpha? So what I mean by that, like what I've noticed in the NBA, like the guys that are an alpha could be an asshole, could be sometimes could be volatile, um, maybe high maintenance as well. Um, what do you think? What do you like with some of these personalities?
So, in my opinion, as an alpha, an NBA player that's an alpha, first off, they don't call themselves an alpha. Second, they call they call themselves winners. Like they call themselves like hold no bar. I'll drag this team. I'll drag you. Like they are the voice and the force of the team to a certain extent. Like I like in a prototypical alpha is like I mean to a certain extent like I don't want to use these like it's difficult to kind of go through players because you don't know exactly who is an alpha. But for instance, like just going back to the back to the recent playoffs, like you saw how like, and I'm gonna use our favorite chain, our favorite California team, but like the Warriors, that team, in my opinion, was total. Not total. That team was Steph Curry. That team was him to a certain extent. They had no business being where they were to a certain extent, but he like what I'm trying to say is like he willed the team,
Right.
especially like you can see that in the game 7. You can see that even after they won, like the speeches that they do. There's a lot more nuance to it, but basically on the court they'll execute, and also in the locker room they'll get it together. So they are the voice, and to give it more towards the Lakers, like honestly, like that should be LeBron James. Without a doubt, like he is the vocal, like he should be the vocal. Um, and yeah, like to a certain extent, we kind of saw that even in the playoffs. Like he was trying to be the alpha. Like we saw even the last game that the Lakers played, like 30 points. He was like, I'm gonna unload everything, and I'm strictly talking offense, but I'm just saying like when you see that they're trying to fuel the team, that they're trying to basically say like, I'm gonna kick you until you respond, and if you don't, at least I tried and I really like, because to a certain extent that's what an alpha is, a leader that's trying to will their team, to will the players, motivate them, get them to where they want to execute the game plan. So that's kind of like the biggest characteristic. Like they have to be focused, they have to be vocal, and they kind of have to be to a certain extent not really an asshole. Like there's a lot of assholes in the NBA, like, but assholes don't necessarily mean that they are an alpha. Like there's no. I don't think there's no justification. I feel like it's more like there's a characteristic to it. It's like one track mind, like one single track. Like an alpha would basically be like, why am I thinking about the off season? Why am I thinking about other stuff? I'm thinking about this kind of characteristic. Like I'm focused on this. Like why should I? And there was a story. I think it was Mike who said it in one of our playbacks. And Evan, I'm gonna use you to see if it's true. Like when Pat Riley kind of was the Lakers head coach and basically said like, hey, he didn't allow family to travel. Like he had like that locker room straight, and to a certain extent, like they look at Cap, they look at certain players to be like, hey, you are the leader. Like it's like to a certain extent, the culture of the team is is fermented by the coach who's an alpha and a player who's an alpha, and they both kind of jive. Like I feel like that's the connection. Does that make sense, Center?
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. I definitely see it. Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Evan, you want to chime in?
Oh, I was just saying I agree totally with what Tony was saying, and yeah, like, yeah, Pat Riley did really do that. Like, he really had the control. And the other thing about the alpha for me is that, like this, all of this stuff, like, derived from, a guy who was studying wolves. And, the one thing about the alpha, even with wolves, is that if the alpha is not stable, if the alpha is not like, steady, like he won't lead the pack, somebody else will dethrone him basically. And so like I think even in basketball, like to be a good alpha, you have to be that steady one too. So like, there are all kinds of guys that try and be the alpha and, can't handle the heat in the kitchen a lot of times, like I think James Harden is a good example of that. So like, to be the true alpha to me, like you also have to be, that stable. You have to be that one that they want to follow. You can't just, it's not about like barking orders and, being strong. And like, it's about, them wanting to follow you because you know what you're talking about kind of thing.
Absolutely. Well, now we know, you make some great points. Now we know in the history of the league, you only can pick a handful of teams who won a championship that didn't have two Hall of Famers. You may look back at the Raptors, 2019, the Trailblazers that won in the 70s. I know Bill Walton's in the Hall of Fame. Did they have another Hall of Famer? I'm unsure. You know,
But to be wait a minute. But to be a Hall of Famer, does that mean you're an alpha?
no, not at all. Well, I guess what I'm saying is, can two alphas lead to a championship? And the reason, like, I look at, like, we talk about Shaq and Kobe. Okay, like we're gonna talk about the dynasties in a minute, but we look at Shaq and Kobe. Yeah, now you did have an age difference. You did have Shaq, who was like, okay, that's the little brother, and Kobe's like, no, 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 you're not my big brother. So you had two alphas. Now they won 3 straight championships. I also, shout out to Bleacher Dave. I was me and him was messaging back and forth earlier before recording this, and he's like, man, I'm still pissed about Shaq and Kobe because they would have won so many more championships. But by that time, by the time it imploded, Kobe was at a point was like, no, 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 no. I'm top dog, I'm going to be top dog somewhere else. And the decision was made. But we saw it imploded as Kobe grew into his own. Um, does someone always need to be the beta? Because Evan, you said it earlier when you're talking about James Worthy being that beta to Magic's alpha. Um, does someone always need to be the beta? Because right now we see with our Lakers. Even though I'm not 100% sure, and I'm gonna say, I'm gonna ask the question in a minute. I'm not exactly sure if LeBron's an alpha, but he's positioned as an alpha. But we know Anthony Davis, according to the chart, because what does the chart say when it comes to beta? Sensible and reliable, which, okay, minus the injury, he is. When he's on the court, sensible and reliable. Uh, he's trustworthy, would say that. Supporting, he is sweet, caring, and supportive. He's definitely a supportive person. I would say Anthony Davis is a beta. But does someone always need to be the beta?
I don't think so. I don't think so at all. Like, I think, for the two alphas to coexist, there does need to be some give and take. There does need to be some respect between the two of them, because like the two best that I can have the example for is Kareem and Magic, because they made it work for, a decade, and they've got 5 championships to show together for it. So like, to me, they're, they made it work. And the way it worked, in my opinion, is the fact that because of the age difference, there was a respect from the other. They didn't like each other's styles, but they respected each other's games. And that's what made that work. and
yeah,
Shaq and Kobe, you know, had the conflict because they really didn't respect each other's games. You know, like it really came down to that. When you boil down the Shaq and Kobe beef, it's really, you know, Kobe just basically thought Shaq was lazy. That's when you boil it down to its basic essence, you know.
But Evan, do
That's
you
really
agree
what it
that
is.
do you agree that
Yeah.
Shaq and Kobe, to a certain extent, they didn't value the championship? Like think about it this way: if they value the championship more than their beef or their disrespect to each other, like that could have actually tied into more championship. Like
Oh,
there's
absolutely.
because they were never having a common goal. They were more individualized. So if anything, they were the epitome of two alphas just basically clashing together. So kind of sucks, really.
Yeah, and like, yeah, I've always kind of looked at them as just they. It worked out because the two of them were just such unstoppable forces on the court. Not that they were, you know, the greatest, you know, combination necessarily, but they were just both absolute unstoppable forces. And yeah, like, you know, that clash between them, like it, like I said, it just still boils down to that basic essence of, you know, they just didn't respect each other's games. And like, you know, if you don't respect each other's games, like, yeah, it's hard to make it work, you know. And you know, because there's always going to be that kind of seething, like, underneath, you know, everything that you guys do, of just like, I don't trust you because I don't trust your methods and your styles, and like, you know. So that's, you know, like, I always feel that about Shaq and Kobe. Like, you know, there could have been so much more, and like, I've even made like a strong argument that they really could be underachievers, you know, because we never really saw their true peak of them like meshing together and, you know, being like the great team as opposed to these great unstoppable individual forces. You know what I mean?
absolutely. Well. I want to explore this because so when we bring up, you brought up Kareem and Magic. You brought up Shaq and Kobe, and the first thing, and we were talking about alphas that coexisted, but the first thing I'm thinking of is there's also a significant age gap between both duos. So is it now? It's easy to say, okay, you know what? Yeah, that little brother, the little brother. So referring to Magic and Kobe, yeah, they're alphas because of the age gap. They also know that, hey, I'm the old dog. Okay, their time is going to come. We're going to hand off the reins to them at some point. They're next in line. They're the heir to the throne, but it's not their time yet. So, is it a thing where alphas? Does there need to be an age gap for the alphas to be to for two alphas to be able to work? Because when I look at, so let's look at like LeBron and Miami, right? That first year, it didn't work. When I'm talking about LeBron, D Wade, and Bosh. Now, at first, it was a big three. Then Bosh automatically became like the beta, or you can even, if you want to really think about it, he was probably the omega. So he was like, it all
Or
of a
even
sudden
the Delta.
even
Yeah.
the Delta. Yeah, even the Delta. So yeah, he's definitely was the Delta. And so it became a big two. Now, after they lost to Dallas in 2011, Dwayne Wade was the one that said, "Hey, I have to step back. LeBron has to be the number one for this to work, and I'm the number two." So it seems that Dwayne Wade, who was the alpha in the locker room, it was his team before LeBron got there. It seemed like he voluntarily made himself a beta so LeBron could be the quote unquote alpha. So like, does it need to be like an age gap for two alphas to work? Like, because I haven't seen where two alphas that are close to the same age made it work. Like we just saw look at Westbrook and LeBron uh for a season and a half. I would say Westbrook is definitely an alpha. You can say maybe LeBron's an alpha too. And it didn't work. Their play styles they weren't able to have their play styles mesh with each other. Um, you know,
Is Westbrook really an alpha?
well,
Because like in this chart, I kind of pegged him as a sigma. Like he's proud, he's charismatic, he tries to be the high achiever. He's headstrong and kind of unique to a certain extent.
I think LeBron's the sigma.
Well, here's an interesting thing to think about, guys. Like, like people in life, kind of like don't think of these things as like kind of a person is set in this way. People can travel through these archetypes. There are people that have gone from beta to alpha, or even sigma to alpha. And like if you think about it, like Westbrook, the best way to describe him is a sigma who was an alpha for a good period of time when he was in Oklahoma State.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I look at the Bulls teams of the 90s, and you have the alpha in Jordan because he was dominating, but he was charismatic, he was the leader, he understood his priorities, and he always utilizes his time. He has anyone done more with their peak or accomplished more with their peak than Jordan? I would say the beta of the team is Scotty. We saw it in the Last Dance. He was the modest one, the easygoing one. Um, and even legacy wise, he got overshadowed by Jordan.
I mean, Kareem, to a certain extent, you can say that he's done more in his peak. Just saying.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I think if we look back at the dynasties, right? We look at the we look at back at the dynasties, like so. Let's look at the Celtics of the '60s. Let's start off there. That was the NBA's first dynasty. You can say it was the greatest dynasty. Who was the alpha? Who was the beta? Of those squads. I would say Russell was the alpha of that squad. You could say Bob Cousy was probably the beta. Um, or was Bob Cousy more of a
No, Havlicek was the alpha of that team.
you say Havlicek, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Rondo was the guy who made that team run, from what everybody says. Like, I've only watched highlights, but like, yeah, like you can tell that he's the playmaker, him and Bob Cousy. And yeah, and like, he's the engine because he's the one who can score all the time. And Bill Russell is the defense, basically.
So he's probably Bill, but he was definitely a proud person. He was headstrong and unique. He was a high achiever. So I guess that would qualify Bill Russell as the Sigma. Yeah, he was more of a Sigma. I think that's one thing great about this conversation. We're learning that, there is some overlap between an alpha and a Sigma. And not every person is actually is not an alpha if they, even though they may think they are. Were you saying, Tony?
No, it's just I think you're missing also a point here, which is kind of like the stigmata of this, because like we kind of live in a society where if you're the alpha, you're like this immovable, like you're this force, you're the leader, you're the dictator, you're basically on top, on the pedestal. And the beta, and excuse me for my word, it's kind of like, well, you're the bitch. Like, basically, it's just societal. It's just what it is in life. What a lot of people who are narrow minded kind of think of, and even in Twitter, you kind of see it constantly, or sorry, X, or whatever it's called now. But just saying, like it's this thing where I never knew, like this conversation, I never knew there was more than an alpha and a beta. Like now there's a gamma, and omega, a delta, and I think it can continue onwards. But to a certain extent, like there's a big point to what Evan is saying too, that I kind of agree with. Like we do an injustice, kind of like putting a profile to like And we do this to LeBron. We do this to even the greats. And even when they decline, it's like, you're an alpha. Why are you not being an alpha? Why are you not scoring 40 points? Why are you not doing this? Why are you not doing that? And it's kind of like we put the bar so high that we don't like it's a career. It's a timeline. Like there's gonna be a period that it's the journey. Like you basically turn and we've seen it with LeBron now more than ever. It's like now he's not on ball. He's more looking for his shot. He's being a bit more passive. He's being a bit more like what is he, a beta? Is he a sigma? But to a certain extent, like it's in the tail end of his career. So are you gonna qualify him as just an overall beta, an overall sigma? That's kind of like I kind of believe like to a certain point, like that 2020 championship, in my opinion, we had two alphas, and we had two alphas in their kind of like in the proverbial not peak LeBron, but probably the best LeBron in a Laker uniform we've ever seen. So just saying, like they were both on that type of level during that run. So and that was both. You saw it in their motor. You saw them in their tenacity. You saw it in their locker room presence, in their leadership. Just saying that they kind of showed what that level of being an alpha, and to a certain extent, this year's championship champions, Denver Nuggets. They kind of Jokic is an alpha with all the and honestly, he's an alpha or a sigma, like he's a combination because he's a joke. He's weird. He's weird,
Yes.
but it
Yes.
works. He's so weird, but it works, and it kind of motivates and operates as an alpha. But he's so weird that it doesn't show it. And then you have Murray, who's like should be this alpha, but he's like he can flip the switch at any time. But he's this constant leader and voice in that team. So you technically on the age, you have both of them that kind of mesh perfectly. So just saying, like the point that we haven't seen it, I think we have. It's just sometimes time does this to us where we're evaluating differently.
Well, I got another weird team to bring up with legendary team that it'd be interesting to see where they fall in. Tim Duncan Spurs. Like I don't look at like is talking about the greatest power forward.
That's a great one. I wanted to bring that one up because
Yeah.
I look at Tim Duncan as like a delta, but he's a delta that can be an alpha.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And it's like, we're talking about the greatest power forward, 5-time NBA champion, 2-time MVP, like, just excellent. Tim Duncan, like he's probably he has to be. I think he's definitely in most people's top 12 of all time as a player.
Isn't that the effect of the coach though? Like I always wonder with the Spurs team, like it's the alpha. Like the alpha is the coach. Like if there was ever a prototypical team that's just like team driven, like team oriented, like and maybe I'm wrong, but I never seen Timmy as an alpha. I never seen Manu as an alpha. I never seen Tony Parker as an alpha. Kawhi was a duck, just a kid. So I don't know. I never really. That's kind of like the prestige of Coach Popovich. Maybe am I missing something there?
Yeah. It's Greg Popovich is definitely an alpha. But like I said, I think Tim Duncan is the greatest delta ever. Like we're talking about a legit superstar that all-time great player, all-time like great achiever, winner, but he's also unassuming. You can say even borderline boring. Like we didn't really appreciate his greatness until later in his career. Always consistent, maybe not necessarily the vocal leader. I think Tony Parker was probably more vocal. You can even say Manu was probably more vocal than Tim Duncan. Um, so I think that definitely shows that you don't necessarily need an alpha to win, but he's also still a great leader. You know,
Well, no,
um,
you do. It's just not in the court. That's all it is.
Yeah, there's more ways than one to skin a cat, but like, yeah, the alpha is usually your best bet.
yeah, absolutely. Um,
So wait a minute. If what about that Dallas team? Like Dirk, wouldn't he be like the second greatest alpha Delta?
I don't know if Dirk was as unassuming and introverted as
He's
Tim Duncan
I mean, he was
because he
carefree.
was
pretty
vocal.
close.
He's
He's pretty close. I mean, yeah, he's a little more vocal, but like, yeah, like he's still kind of, like close to the vest at least, like we don't really like, you know a lot about him. I feel like, you know, from that extent, like, he's not quite as, you know, maybe, quiet and, obviously introverted as Tim is, but like, I feel like he's definitely introverted and, a very private person.
yeah, very very true. Very true. Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you.
Can I lay down my agenda for a second?
Go ahead. It's
Just
agenda
real quick.
time.
So it's agenda time, right? Because like this is the Tony agenda section, or how I used to call it the BS section. But do you want to guess who are the two betas who think they're alphas, but they're kind of like just kind of like a
Uh
mishmash?
so I would say Kevin Durant is going to be one of them.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay,
We're
go
not.
ahead.
We're not in that wavelength. Um,
We'll get to
Jason
KD
Tatum.
soon.
Jason Tatum and 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 Brown. and here's my and here's my point, because like that team, for then again, we're purple and gold lens, but I can take out the lenses and let me do it for just the props. But that team had like Tate. I make this joke about Tatum and Austin Reeves. I totally like, it's a hyperbole. It's for fun. Of course, Jason Tatum, the 6'11" or whatever, 6'12" or 6'15" or whatever he is right now, like that dude is superior than Austin Reeves. I get it, but the reason why Austin Reeves kind of has that dog in him, that extra oomph that you don't see in Jason Tatum. You don't, and to a certain extent, I don't know if it exists in Jaylen Brown. Like that's the problem of that team. Like they're consistently like they're there. They're like, take me over the line, but there's nobody that could definitely has that alpha DNA. That's like, let me take you to the promised land. Let me force this. And to a certain extent, I thought that they're alpha, and people are going to say, nah, maybe not. But it was Marcus Smart, and they traded him away. So just saying, to a certain extent, the leader, the vocal, the strong-willed one, who is it going to be? And I kind of, it's this thing that Jason Tatum is probably the NBA's most complete. Like he has a great bag. He has a great like physical attributes. Excuse me, skill set wise, 3-point shot making, layup package. You can say it, But where is that? Like, where is the next level in terms of like, let me not only ceiling raise, let me floor raise and carry this team. And to a certain extent, let me lead by example. And Boston fans are going to be like, no, he has done it before, blah 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 blah. In the season, that doesn't count. In from certain playoff games, that doesn't really count. A game two, game three, not really. Oh, game seven, he did it. Yeah, but was that game seven gonna win you the championship? Like, to a certain extent, he has not proven that, and that's kind of like where I'm like, it's agenda time, but at the same time, like, the reason why I always pick Austin Reeves over Tatum is only because of that, because there's just that it factor, and until he shows it, and that it factor just fits into the alpha.
Well, so this is the perfect time. This is our daily reminder to to everyone that hey, it's always fuck Boston o'clock. But look, so Tony, let me ask you: are you saying the lack of success that Tatum and Brown have had in these last couple years, playoff blunders? We saw them come back from 0-3, tie a series against the Heat, only to lose Game 7 and completely fold at home. Um, completely fold at home. Do you think that's a personality issue?
I think it's a locker room issue. I think it's it's when your coach is not an alpha. I think that's when it happens. When you don't have a particular star that can create his shot and be like, let me carry you here, or let me, like, it's just late game execution. Like, not in game. Like, in game, that first, he can have a great first quarter, great second quarter, great third quarter. But I don't know if you remember, but those fourth quarter, he's like, that John Travolta, like just looking around, where you at? Like, that's exactly what Jason Tatum was. And I'm not saying that the defense wasn't doing anything or it was lack of success. It's just there's too many times that same scenario has happened, and more times than not, he hasn't really performed. Or, like, you see this team trying to, like, hey, help us. He either doesn't see it. There's something more to it, but I don't know. But that's the problem. Like, if you're down 0-3 to Miami Heat, why are you down 0-3? If you look back at that game, like, he has some atrocious fourth quarters. Atrocious. Like, not even there. Like, you were basically 4-on-5. So does an alpha allow that? Does a coach who's an alpha allow that? Does your running mate, who's, let's say, for Bulls comparison, your Scottie Pippen or whatever you want to call him, does he allow that? Because then, like, Brown is also a culprit, like, of just, like, breaking shots after shots after shots, and, like, hey, do something more. Like, here's the part. Are you intelligent enough to kind of, like, if this is not working, what's working? If this is, like, what's next? So yeah, you could say it is success or lack of success, but it's also, like, in the moment where the opportunity is there in front of them, they don't execute. It's as simple as that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's go to another because before we really go down, before we really talk about the Lakers, the current Lakers, I want to talk about the Warriors. Draymond, Clay, Steph, they won 4 championships. A combination of skill, tremendous skill. On they all bring unique qualities from a basketball perspective. Also, personalities. They found a way to make it work. Now, Steph, folks, if you guys watch the game of basketball, Steph's the greatest shooter ever. I'm sorry. Like, Stop it. Stop it. Clay, to me, my opinion, I think he has the greatest heat index in the history of this league. When he gets hot, it's supernova. Now, does it happen as often as it used to? No. But if he ever gets to that supernova element, I don't think there's ever been anything hotter. But then you look at Draymond, who Draymond is like, unlike the other two guys, Draymond can have a triple single and be extremely effective in the game, you know. And Draymond is always the vulgar, not vulgar. Well, that too, but he's always been the vocal one. So, out of the three guys, where do they fall in line with these personality traits? They have made it work. They've been to 5 NBA finals. Where do they fall in line with the personalities? You first, Evan.
To me, like when I look at that team, I see two betas and a gamma. Clay and Steph are the two betas, and Draymond is the gamma, the tactful and clever one. Like, he's kind of the engine that kind of runs that, motion offense that, that they work off of. So like we were talking, like I said earlier, there's more than one way to skin a cat. And, that's what's always been kind of interesting to me about that team, is that I've never felt like that was an alpha driven team. So, the two betas and a gamma is what I see.
So you say two betas. What? Hold on. Repeat. Say that again, Evan.
Two betas and a gamma.
And who is who?
So Clay and Steph are betas, and Draymond is the gamma. Look at those traits.
Goal-oriented and intelligent. So Draymond is the gamma. So we say he's the superb planner.
And
he's tactful.
Tactful is probably doesn't quite.
Informative and clever. Goal-oriented and intelligent.
He's definitely those.
Well, I mean, he did punch his way to a contract, so the same.
You could maybe argue that he's a Sigma, but just the way he plays on the court, like I feel like he's the planner. Like you know what I feel? You know what I'm saying?
And then the beta would be Curry, because he's trustworthy, he's supportive, he's sensible,
both Clay and
reliable.
Steph. So he's got two betas basically. That
But the thing is, with Curry, I kind of have him as an alpha. Like before last season, before the championship, I kind of had him as a prototypical beta in terms of like he could command the locker room, but not to a certain extent. Like that is a very Spurs-esque kind of system if you think about it. It's not like one-star driven. Like the offense does revolve around Steph. It does, like in terms of like the motion offense is like caters to him, but it's not to a certain extent. Like, how can I say this? Like his characteristics, his qualities as a person, he's more chill. Like it's just who he is. It's like he's very competitive, but at the same time, he's very like, if you're an NBA player, you're all competitive. That's why I kind of cross out the competitive when I do this analysis, because if you ask every NBA player, they're probably going to say that they're an alpha. Everybody's going to say that they're the dog or they're this or that. But just saying, like with Steph though, he's matured enough, and he's like, they don't win, they don't do certain things like that prototypical trip that they had to go to Sacramento to win that game 7, like that kind of like changed my mind in terms of like, yeah, he ain't a beta. Like he's an alpha with the speech. Like he doesn't speak too much, but when he does, he commands the floor. He commands the. Just saying, like, it shows more alpha qualities than it does beta. You know,
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. I just,
yeah.
you know,
Go ahead,
I see more of just, you know, what I'm talking about is just kind of playing style. But I do hear what you're saying about the leadership off the court, and I would agree with that, and that's a good argument for him, you know, being so. I think, you know, probably he's a beta who's capable of being an alpha is probably the best way to describe Steph.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely with you guys on that. Let's talk about some Lakers because we are the Purple and GoldMinds. And by the way, please shoot us a follow. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at Purple Gold Mines. Gold Mines is gold like the color. Mine is like what should be inside of your head. MINDS. Purple Gold Mines at Purple Gold Mines across, once again, Threads, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Let's talk about some Lakers. Is LeBron an alpha?
yes.
Yes.
I think he's a sigma. I think he's a sigma. When I think of
Show
go ahead.
Why? No, why is he a sigma?
Okay, well, we agreed there's some overlap between alpha and sigma. So he is proud. He is charismatic. He is a high achiever. He's opinionated. There's only one king. He's unique. Now, headstrong, okay, that's debatable. But the way when I think alpha, see, I don't. But the part where I say I'm leaning towards sigma, part where I says where I'm worried about what the sigma is with the alpha. There's that dominating and strong-willed. That is something where I don't see with LeBron. Like I see that with Kobe. I see
But
that
he's
with
definitely a rock star. I mean,
well, of course, he's definitely a
come
rock
on.
star.
Wait a minute. So to go through the injury that he went to come back like that, to play through it, like, wouldn't you call that strong-willed?
Mm-hmm.
And also dominating,
He's
where he's
dominating the game.
prototypically the best player in his squad at any given night. Like, I don't know.
So I see the reason. Okay, mind you, we're talking about personality traits. So with Sigma, see, the thing is, when I think of Alpha, I'm thinking about Kobe. Like I'm thinking about Kobe fucking growling on with his fucking mouth, sticking his mouth out. I'm thinking about Jordan slapping the shit out of Steve Kerr, and like, yo, wake the fuck up. I'm thinking about.
Okay, so who's an alpha? Like, just name the alphas, because you named
Okay,
two.
I'm Alpha.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we talking about today's NBA?
General, just to
In
get an
general,
idea,
okay.
just to get an idea
Thinking,
from
okay, I'm thinking about, obviously I mentioned Jordan and Kobe. I'm thinking about Bird, Magic. You can also say Dream. You can also say Akeem. I'm thinking about that's who I'm thinking about when I'm thinking about alphas, like those guys who are, also like some assholes. Like when it comes to just like winning is the end all be all, winning is the main thing. There's something maniacal about them. LeBron to me is like, hey, we're gonna do movie night at the house, or everyone have their own customizable handshake, and You know, that's I think it's more towards Sigma. And then even LeBron has a somewhat of a little passive aggressive type of way about him, where Kobe, Jordan, you can even say Shaq, they were direct. Even more so Kobe than Shaq, but they were direct. Like, LeBron can, give decoded message sometimes that you have to decipher. That's why I'm leaning towards Sigma. Even like maybe I would say this: 60% Sigma, 40% Alpha.
I go 80-20.
You go
80,
80-20.
80 Alpha, 20 Sigma.
I
Wow.
actually go 60 2020
What's the 2020?
Gamma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Goal
All right.
oriented. He's a super planner, tactful, informative, clever.
Yep.
I mean, but even to the majority of his career, he was an alpha. Like there are moments in his career that you can even pinpoint. Like if you're talking about right now, I can still see him as an alpha. Again, we got Taco Tuesdays. We got some of his LeBron is funny, but at the same time, and that could be why you're putting him as a Sigma. But at the same time, he is like when you think of the rock star, he is the rock star currently.
Yep.
Like there's just no if, ands, or buts. He is that. He lives that lifestyle. He is that lifestyle. If you're talking about strictly because how you painted it was like Mamba mentality. Like it's you're a dog. Like I'm gonna f you up, kind of mentality. Like you're not my friend. I'm going to go to your court and I'm going to dominate and I'm going to be the best player, kind of mentality. And there's few in between. And in today's NBA, that's a rarity. It's an extreme rarity. Like who in today's NBA really fits that mold?
Honestly, even though I would say at his peak, I would say probably Westbrook.
No.
You don't think? Wow.
Okay.
No.
No.
Okay.
And this is not a disrespect to Westbrook.
Well, of course.
Again, no disrespect to Westbrook, but how I define is basically I'm gonna go there with ill intent. And there's only one person actually that comes to mind.
Giannis?
Not even that guy.
Who?
Giannis is literally the definition of Sigma. He is the best Sigma.
Okay, I can see that.
Like he loves the media. He loves
because he doesn't really have that. Because he doesn't really have that asshole part of him.
No, he doesn't. It's not part of his.
Yeah,
of his fabric.
He kind of shuns the. He's not a rock star. He's not he's charming and he's intelligent, but I don't see him as that that stereotypical alpha at all. Yeah.
The guy that reminds me, and we kind of saw it not only in his offensive game, but just how he carried himself, how he basically lifted the team, like Jimmy Butler.
Now that's an alpha to me. Jimmy Butler's an alpha.
I don't have a I feel like that's a given.
Yeah.
But that mentality, he went to think of what he did and how he trolled the other team, how he acted, how he was. That's the closest to that era of I'm gonna F you up kind of.
Yes, absolutely. I want to get to Jimmy Butler in a second, because I want to bring up Dame. But as we finish off with the Lakers, let me ask you this: we just talked about LeBron. Can AD become that alpha? Can he become an alpha once LeBron leaves? Because right now I put him as a beta. I put him as a beta. Yeah, I have him as beta.
Why do you have it as beta with this table?
Um, he's sensible. He's supportive. You can say he's caring. You can also say and I mean this in a respectful way. He has a sweet personality. When I mean that, like, not really an asshole, fun loving. You can say he has a fun loving element to him. Um, when he's healthy, he is reliable. He does his job. Um, so and then he's also not. He's going and he also goes with the flow of who's the leader. You don't see anything where he's clashing with LeBron. Like LeBron sets the tone, he follows suit. Um, he's not demanding of the ball. He's not demanding of being a focal point of the offense. We have spoken many times in our on our daytime Lake Show's Twitter Spaces that not necessarily aggressive, not necessarily assertive. Um, so I that's why I put him at the beta for now with LeBron there. So do you think he could be an alpha? Do you or let me ask this question better. When LeBron leaves, because what he's so when LeBron leaves, because we want AD, it looks like he's gonna be signing that $160 million 3-year extension. Um, when LeBron leaves and AD is here, what do you think he'll morph into? Will he remain a beta, and whatever superstar he get paired with would be the alpha or the sigma? Do you think he'll morph into a sigma? Do you think he'll morph into an alpha? Do you think he'll turn into a? I don't think he'll be an omega. But where do you think he'll fall in line? I mean, where do you think he'll? What do you think he'll morph into when he becomes that cornerstone 1A player?
Well, hopefully he'll morph into that alpha. We've seen bits and pieces of it this past season. Like, he went on that run, early in the season before he really got injured. And, I mean, he was dominant and really looked like he was ready to kind of take the reins from LeBron. But I feel like injury and circumstance have kind of like put obstacles in his path at this point. And, I feel like he's trying at this point, and we're not sure. Like, I would say the jury's still out. Like, I'm hopeful that he'll get there, but I think it's fair to say that he's still a beta at this point, because, the obstacles still are obstacles. And, like, to be the alpha, you have to kind of overcome the obstacles. So, yeah, I think it's fair to say that he's the beta now, but I think I have faith that if he can stay healthy, that he will get to be the alpha. But, things could possibly change just depending on how the roster changes, because if you bring on another strong personality, he could easily just kind of assume the beta role again, because he's probably more comfortable in that role. So that's the way I view it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I want to, there's lots of players in the NBA, and I just want to go through a little short list of them and see where they fall in line with these personality traits. Um, let's start off with Westbrook. We talked about, he was a big um topic of conversation in last week's episode of Meeting of the GoldMinds. Shout out to Cecil for being our special guest. Cecil Williams. Westbrook, where does he fall in line on the personality trait?
So I kind of have him as a sigma. And he's a high achiever. Like, he always has a moment where he's and again, a lot of Laker fans are gonna point to his Laker tenure, but as a Clipper, in certain situations, Wizards as well, Rockets. He's done. He's a high achiever. He's very opinionated. He's headstrong, and to a certain extent, like um, his prototypical um, stature is more like he's just unique. There's no other guard like him other than maybe John Morant, but Russ Westbrook, who he is, he's built different. He has his clothesline. He has certain aspects like he does, and he's very proud. He's proud of his name. He's proud of his fam. Like the level of pride that he carries around, especially from his upbringing to where he came through to just where he is now. Like, yeah, I think he's a Sigma. For sure. And 2016, I think 2016 was it? Um, I think it was the rock star in terms of just like MVP, Mr. Triple Double, like it's just domination to a certain extent. So, but yeah. By the way, then
I know fucking dogs, man. Fucking
yeah,
man, just yeah,
I know.
unbelievable.
Great timing.
Yeah,
Tell me about it.
epic.
Evan, Kevin Durant, where he falls in line, because we're talking about all time great talent,
But you don't want to know.
and so he went from an MVP in Oklahoma City. He went to the Warriors, where he definitely was. Now you can say he was the best player on the team during those championship years. Wasn't the leader of the team. Wasn't the alpha.
73-9 Warriors, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. 73-9. What type of personality would join a 73-9 team that you were just up 3-1 in a Western Conference Finals? Then after the Warriors' tenure, he goes to Brooklyn. Now, from what we heard from reports, is that Kyrie was like kind of like the leader of that team, for better or for worse. He kind of followed suit. He was like, hey, Kyrie wanted to go to Brooklyn. He went to Brooklyn too. Formed what was supposed to be a big three with him, Kyrie, and DeAndre Jordan. Later on, it was James Harden, who we'll get to in a minute. Now he went to Phoenix. Now he's with Phoenix. You got Devin Booker. You got the recently traded Bradley Beal. DeAndre Ayton. He's younger. He's definitely not like in an alpha role. So where does Kevin Durant fall in line with this?
I see him as an omega. He's that kind of like individual. He's a little bit nerdy. He is very straightforward. And he's also a little bit childish and messy at times. So like I think he does fit the omega prototype to me. Like he's very very much kind of beat to the beat of his own drummer kind of guy.
I agree 100%.
What I will say, he does fit Delta pretty cool. Like he's kind of like an introvert to a certain extent. He's carefree. He's centered. Like, my God, you don't know who I am? I'm Kevin Durant. Like he is centered.
I feel like when he's on his game, he's a Delta, but when he's on Twitter, he's an Omega.
Yeah, yeah. There you go.
Yeah. I guess reading that you're not in someone's top 5, you become an Omega. Let's get through this list. James Harden, Mr. Four Burgers himself. Man,
Wait, Zen, is this updated?
What do you mean?
Is this graph updated? Like, is there like another one? Because like we're missing like the M, like the McDouble one.
The McDouble. The McDouble. That is fun. You had me going for a sec. You had me going for a sec. James Harden.
James is a hybrid, Omega and Sigma, in my opinion. Like he kind of vacillates between the two.
I think there's also a big part of him that's Delta because there's also they're carefree, obviously, 4 burgers, but it's just like there's also a part of him there's like that passive aggressive, where you could say, okay, person that's peaceful, non-confrontational, quiet, but it's kind of like, okay, passive aggressive. So I definitely see some Delta in him as well. Yeah. Tony?
Yeah, that's fair.
Sorry, I was muted. I kind of feel like he's a Delta because just of the part of the carefree nature, like literally, like if you think about it, he is so carefree. Like I think there's a video of him just.
That's a good point.
Like there's a video of him with the burgers now, but there was one with his birthday party where he had like cash and like the dude has made in his career $300 million. I'm just saying, and he's living life to the max. He's like looking for another contract. He's preparing for the fat suit. He's carefree. Like I get the other part of it, but he's like 80% carefree, and then the part where he's like a goal oriented, then he's like from a delta to a gamma to a certain extent, like goal oriented. He's kind of intelligent too, like on the court. He's clever, tactful. His playmaking is low key, kind of not just because he lost a step or two or gained a few pounds. Like they kind of people don't really respect it, but he still got that. So it's like like you guys said, a hybrid, but for me it's gamma and delta, and more delta than gamma.
That's fair. I like that argument. Yeah, he's the carefree is his trademark for sure.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, here's a good one. Kyrie. Where does he fall on this chart? It's like depending on the day of the week, it could be all 6. But where does he fall on this chart?
I feel like it's no. There's one.
Omega, I think, strongly is.
Yeah, it's Omega. There's no I think regardless of where the pendulum kind of swings for him, depending on the day, he's always a Omega. Like skillful, straightforward. He is to a certain point when it comes to the basketball court, certain things. He is intelligent, but he's extremely childish, and the messy part is kind of loud. So
I agree. I think with Kyrie, he's an Omega, but he sees himself as an Alpha or a Sigma, but he's really an Omega. And that's definitely a Kyrie answer right there. Evan, what you thinking?
I think we lost Evan for a moment. His internet probably is restarting.
No problem. Tony, while we continue this. Okay, so
yeah.
Tony, we talked about Jimmy Butler earlier being being an alpha. Now, Dame wants to join, is trying to do everything in his power to get to Miami. Okay? That means he would be teaming up with Jimmy Butler. So, one, where do you see Dame in this? And also, what would he need to be? Actually, this is a better question. If Dame makes it to Miami, what would he need to be able to make it work with Jimmy?
So that's a tough one because I feel like Jimmy is an alpha, but he's not during the season, during certain even spurts, like if we're talking strictly basketball, he isn't this guy where he's like, you know what, let me be the alpha and I'm always going to be the alpha. He does turn sometimes into the beta of the offense, like the supportive, like, and basically most of it is just like trying to relax himself. But he's always had the alpha mentality. And Dame though, because Dame can be an alpha at times, but most of the times, in my opinion, he's like more of like this mix of Delta and Sigma. You could say like he's uh, he's centered. It's kind of like an introvert, but at the same time, like he's very proud of what he's done, and which rightfully so to a certain extent.
Right.
But to a certain extent, like it's been what, how many, like a decade of like I'm not leaving, I'm not living, like, and then out of nowhere it's like, you know what, like yeah, it's time to leave. It's like what, like, and yeah, and he's very opinionated. So for it to work though, like you kind of need him to be a designated Sigma, um, but at the same time be a beta. Like you kind of have to be a beta.
Very
Because
true.
I
I'm
don't
with you.
see, I don't see, man, Jimmy. One of the two has to turn into a beta. If not, we're gonna see that rare occurrence of just like they are they're both alphas, or they're both like trying to compete, or it's a weird situation. But they're both asking for like both are asking for it. So let's see if we
Right.
can make it work.
Absolutely. All right, I got two more names for you. As we wrap up this segment, Julius Randle. To all, because Tony, I know the love affair you have with hashtag New York Forever, the New York Knicks
There,
faithful.
there's no love affair. There's no like, there's none whatsoever. And honestly, it's just here's the thing about, and just a little insight on that, just to clarify the record. I have no problems with the Knick fans. It's just like you guys had 2 weeks of Obi Toppin funerals. 2 weeks. I was like in the morning working. I'm like, what? You guys are crying, like putting to bed. Like there was one that was putting to bed Obi, doing a funeral for Obi. And I'm like, oh my god, just let him. Like, what has Obi done to you guys? Again, that's why I was like, but yeah, what? I don't know. The Randall. I'm gonna be honest for Randall. Oh boy, Randall. Omega. There is skill. He's very straightforward for what it is. But man, is he childish. Like, I don't know. Like, he's not. Sometimes he's not mature enough. He wants to be the alpha. He wants to be certain things that he's just not at times. Like Randall is this guy that just he has talent. He is a great he does great things on the offensive end, but he's reached this plateau where it's all on the he doesn't play make. The ball kind of dies with him. And sometimes like if he has an off night or whatnot, like it just I don't know. I he could be a great beta. That's all I'm gonna say. Like he could be a great beta, but for me he's right there as an omega. And if we classify this at columns, then childish and anger management issues. So whatever you want to qualify that as.
Yeah, when it comes to Julius Randle, I think when he got to New York and he was the guy there, you can say he was anywhere between a Sigma and an Alpha, especially when the team went to the playoffs. Ultimately lost to Trey Young and the Atlanta Hawks. But I think since Jalen Brunson got there and you can see he became the leader of the team. You can argue that he's the best player on the court. Now, we also, like folks that don't know, Jalen Brunson has a lot of family connections. It's almost as if the Knicks took the keys from Randall and gave it to Brunson. Like, his pops, Jalen Brunson's father, is like a consultant on the team. Leon Rose is practically his godfather. I believe Leon Rose's son is Jalen Brunson's agent. Like, I'm telling you, it's like nothing but family connections. And we really seen how Julius Randle, his personality came out, like, elements of his personality where he was, you know, different arguments, on the court arguments, nearly fights with teammates. We saw that last game against the, I think it was game 6, the last game that they had against the Heat in the playoffs. Jalen Brunson dropped 45. Julian Randle wasn't anywhere to really be found. But the last name on this list, probably my favorite player in the NBA, and I want to start off with Evan on this. Luka. Where does he fall on this chart?
Well, to me, Luka is definitely an alpha. I see Luka as the alpha. He is that rock star. He's charming. Yeah, and he is strong-willed. So, yeah, I definitely see him as the alpha. Now, I can see him, sometimes slide into the omega, especially, being childish and complaining about the refs and stuff like that. But, yeah, he's definitely an alpha to me.
Well, definitely. And it'll be interesting. Kyrie re-signed for the max with the Mavericks. This is going to be their first full season together. It will be really interesting where those personalities line up. We definitely can't have both of them be omegas. So it'll be interesting who is going to be the sigma, who's going to be the alpha. Is one of them going to fall into some omega ways? That's going to be interesting. But yeah, it's been one hell of a conversation, really dissecting the personalities of the players. And yeah, so we'll see how these personalities mesh, for the LakeShow and, for the other teams, but definitely for the Lakers, especially with the new players that we got, lots of new players. But yeah, every show, every episode of Meeting of the GoldMinds, we like to close things out talking about what we're watching, on TV. As of right now, so July 23rd, there are 2 strikes going on in Hollywood. The strikes continue with SAG, Screen Actors Guild Union, and the Writers Guild Union, WGA. So many new shows this upcoming fall. So a lot of folks are, like myself, is going back to those our watch lists, those ever expanding watch lists on streaming services. So Tony, what are you watching? What are you watching?
Shit. So I'm watching right now the final season of Jack Ryan in Prime. Also, I'm watching. There's an episode that they released for. I've started it, but I haven't finished it. The Invincibles. That supposedly is gonna be starting up. I think it's fall. Like it's like season 2 is gonna drop this fall. Other than that, I'm waiting on Secret Invasion to kind of do its thing, finish off, so I can start from the beginning to the end. Because like it shows to me like that series where you can't, like I can't I'm sorry, like it's not what I expected. It's cool, but I kind of have to watch it probably from the beginning to end and kind of get the whole gist of it.
Yeah, I've been watching that. I've been watching Secret Invasion weekly, every episode, and this upcoming Wednesday will be the, I guess, maybe the season finale. We don't know how Disney's structuring this, if this is a limited series, but it's going to be the last episode.
Well, did you hear
Um,
the news about it though?
what?
So Disney has been taking some major L's, like
Yeah.
L after L after like the Indiana
Yep.
Jones is probably their biggest flop.
Yeah.
I think they one report said like in franchise history or something like that, where
Wow.
like it's 300, like they're losing. It's not that they've invested. No, they are losing $300 million. Like, make that make sense. And the other one was Secret Invasion is their lowest viewed um, Marvel show.
Yeah. Look, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle to watch. I There's still a thing where you watch it because you just want to, because at any given moment, there could be a surprise, or how does this connect to the next thing? And I think the next Avenger movie is one of the upcoming Avengers movies, because they announced two, is the Secret Wars. So this is going to connect to that. So it's like, okay, you're going to have to watch this show, so it makes sense when you watch Secret Wars. Um, so it's gonna be interesting how, at this point, like I said, it's been a struggle to watch this show, but I keep up to date with it for the MCU standpoint. Um, but it's been rough. I still like the show. I thought I would love it, but I like it. Definitely not as much action as you would want. But yeah, I think, you know, Bob Iger, chairman of Disney, was saying that, they kind of oversaturated the market, and it was like the content was coming out too frequently. So if you're telling me I get one less or two less Marvel shows a year, uh, and it leads out to better quality, so be it. I'm with it. Evan, what you watching?
Well, I've also been watching Secret Invasion, and I've been enjoying it. Um, but the one that I've also recently just watched that I really enjoyed was on Netflix, a documentary about American gladiators, and that
That's
was
on my watch list.
really really good. Like, you know, a lot of like, good stories that we don't know about, as well as like, it's just a good picture of what, any high level athlete, has to go through, and like, what they put their bodies through and stuff like that. And, they even touch on, the steroid use a little bit and stuff. And yeah, it was really entertaining and fun and funny. And yeah, I enjoyed it. Like, because yeah, I enjoyed that silly show when it first came out. And yeah, so that was a fun watch.
Nice, nice. So yeah, I'm watching Secret Invasion. So when it comes to my watch list, so speaking of the Lakers, what I think it's what, the first weekend of August, or within the next couple of weeks of this recording, second season of Winning Time is coming out on Max. Now I haven't seen any episodes. I didn't see the first season, so what I think starting, I don't know, within the next couple of days, I'm gonna start watching the first season, so I'm caught up to date. One thing that I would really love is, because I know it comes out Sunday nights, if to line up our recordings where we can give the episodic reviews of the show, of each episode, since we record Sunday nights and the show comes on Sunday night. So hopefully we'll be able to line that up. But I'm looking forward to catching up on the first season, so I'm good to go for the second season. So I'm looking forward to that. Um And that American Gladiators is definitely on my watch list. So yeah, I think right now I'm like finishing up like it's like background TV, but I'm like finishing up like the past MTV challenges. It's cool to play in the background. Don't have to necessarily 100% focus on it. It's mindless, doesn't take too much brain matter. So yeah. But Evan, thank you so much, man. Like I said, man, you are one of the just kindest guys, funniest guys, that we know that's on NBA Twitter. You are one hell of a writer for Late Night Lake Show. So man, thank you for joining us. And this is, hopefully this is definitely not the last time, and we'll be seeing you join up with us sooner than later, man.
Definitely, yeah. Anytime, guys. Like I love being here with you guys. You guys are a lot of fun, and like, yeah, I had as usual, another great conversation. So thank you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Tony, got any cool words to close us out with?
Yeah. Cool Words is, by the way, we also have a website. It's up, it's running, it's there. It's in the internet Netherlands or whatever you want to call it. Um, Other than that, I do appreciate everybody. Please, like for Apple, for the algorithm, for anything, like just leave a review, leave a comment. I don't know. You don't like. Should I clean my office? I don't know. Just say it. Other than that, I do think we're in the precipice of the end of Marvel. Sorry to say it, but for the next episode of Purple and Gold Mines, we're probably going to say something about that or host something on playback where you can watch us talk about something. But hey, mission accomplished. Zen, I gained an F1 brother, so
He
carry
gained
on.
an F1 brother. Just
Yeah,
unbelievable. Unbelievable,
I just need
man.
to convert Evan, and I can raise my
Mm.
my army of F1 brothers. So
I
yeah,
remember telling someone specifically I would cross dress before, not that there's anything wrong with that, before watching F1. Wow. Just
well,
where's my heels?
good
Yeah, I was
thing.
gonna say we need to get you addressed now. Huh?
Where's my heels? Where's my heels? Not that there's anything wrong with that, but man, where's my heels? But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
looking
hey,
forward to it. Yeah, this has been one hell of a show. Last but not least, everyone, once again, follow us at Purple Gold Mines. That's on at Purple Gold Mines, MINDS, at Twitter, YouTube, Threads, Instagram. Also, we have a website, purplegoldmines.com. Merch is coming soon. Um, we got a month of Mamba coming up in August that folks. It's gonna be some great content daily, every single day. So yeah, keep a lookout for that in the next week or so. And thank you so much for listening. We will be back next week, episode 4, Meeting of the Gold Mines. Sayonara, folks. Thank you.
sayonara.